Housing affordability has been one of the biggest issues in Canada for, well, way more than a decade. And a lot of people have opinions on who is to blame. Was it the Conservatives back when Stephen Harper was running the country, or the Liberals under Justin Trudeau? Or then it could just be the market doing what the market does. Here's the problem. Most Canadians don't actually know how much prices have changed under each government. They hear sound bites and headlines and talking points, none of which have to be factually true, and they don't see the numbers. And since a federal election has been called, and yes, Trudeau and Harper are both out of the way, but both the Conservatives and the Liberals seem to be in a neck-and-neck race. And, well, if you're trying to make sense of this marketplace and maybe who to vote for, it helps to know the facts. Since I have been in real estate through both unpopular Conservatives and unpopular Liberals, I have seen firsthand how things have shifted, where prices went up, when they cooled off, and really what changed under each leader. So in this video, I'm going to break down the data in what I think is a super fun way with a little help from the CBC and show you exactly what happened to housing costs under each of the last two prime ministers of Canada and what it may mean for your next move and how values could change in the future, depending on which party you vote for soon. So today, again, I mentioned the CBC. Fun little thing I found here as I was cruising my phone this morning, and the CBC has an interactive, I guess, article you would call it, and I'm going to do it with you here today to find out if I'm even right. Somebody that's lived through both Harper and Trudeau, and I've experienced all the ups and downs of the market. I want to see how much I am right in regards to rents, interest rates, and home prices. So this is, I think it's fun. Maybe I'll drop the link down below. You can give this a shot for yourself. The first little interactive thing they have to do is to look at the rents over the period of time of when Trudeau was in office. So it starts at national rents averaging $926 in October of 2016. And then what we're going to do is we're going to plot the rents all the way up. Now, this is going to be influenced definitely by my marketplace of Surrey and the Fraser Valley and the lower mainland of BC. But I find that we do track really, really well. And these numbers actually aren't that far off of rentals that I had during this period of time. Now, I'm not going to try and guess necessarily the ups and downs of the rental market, because my thought is that it's been a pretty even rise over the last little bit. They have noted COVID here, so I'm going to suggest that the rents probably went something like this. They went up and up and up and up and up into COVID, and then to COVID, they probably went up a little faster. That's where my thought is. Now, this ends October 2024, so they're likely not going to reflect the recent rent deductions that we've seen, or I guess deductions, that's not the right word. Rents have come down over the last little bit, but I'm going to say that is my answer. And now watch how fun this is. It's going to plot Harper and Trudeau. Hey, look at that. My line is a little bit off there. Maybe I hesitated a little bit after the pandemic started, but it's fairly in line. I gave Trudeau way too little credit. I guess they only went up from about $1,000 or just over $900, I guess, to about 1.4. I had them priced a little bit higher. So Stephen Harper went up about $200 in his tenure of 10 years, and Trudeau's Liberal government went from $926 and they increased to $1,400. So they went up almost $500 or more than double what Harper's did over that period of time. There we go. 28% versus 51% rental increase under each of those prime ministers. Now, the next one here, housing prices. All homes. Should we look at all homes, single family? Let's look at all homes. All homes went from $440. You know what? I think I might do this a little better at single family. So starting off with Trudeau coming in, the national average was $488. Now, in my mind, I go back and I go, when Harper left, the market was already heating up. 2015 was a very hot market where I am. So I'm going to say that this was already going up. But Vancouver actually had the foreign buyer tax come in. So it actually brought the national average down quite a bit. And actually in mid 2016 is when Vancouver's price, it topped out and then it bottomed, and it actually didn't come back until like a year ago. So a lot of people think that the peak in Vancouver detached homes was March 2022. That's not true. It was actually 2016. It was all foreign buyer related. So it went up. I'm going to say it kept nationally going up until about 2018. 2018 was actually not a great year. And in 2019, things got really rough in my market anyway. And then they started to recover just before 2020. And then we went to probably not as hot a market as people thought. And then things took off. 2022, 2020. Oh, I probably should have come down already. I'm too late. Oh, well. Into 23, and then it kind of went like this a couple of times. And I'm going to say we're about there. I think I waited too long on the 2022, but let's see what happened. Hey, that's actually not bad. I think I was in line pretty close there. So we went from 285. Harper went to 488. $200,000, a 71% increase compared to Trudeau's apparently 62% increase. But that is from beginning to end and has nothing to do with the complete collapse that we saw in 2022. So technically, Harper had a worse run in housing affordability, I guess, if you're going to call it that, at least in detached home prices. I want to do this again with all homes just to kind of see if I had that right. So I'm going to draw kind of the same line. So we were going up. We came down in 2018. We were kind of flat for a while, and then we went up before 2020, kind of flat for a while, and then took off. And I'm going to make this go like the same kind of trend that we saw. And all home types, am I right? Am I wrong? Hey, I was quite under, actually. That's not bad. So when you look at all housing types, technically on a percentage basis, Harper did worse in single family, and Harper did technically worse in all categories, but Trudeau significantly worse in the rest of, I guess, what you would consider to be more townhouses and more condos, which also makes sense. Hey, I think my line's not doing too bad. I'm way off, but line's not doing too bad. And then interest rates. Let's look lastly at interest rates. What options does it give me? A 1 year, which I don't pay attention to, a 3 year, which people have only started paying attention to recently, and a 5 year. So 4.6. Oh, this is not overnight rate. Overnight rate would be much easier for me to do because I'm pretty sure I've pretty much got that locked in my brain, but this is going to be bond yield. So I'm probably going to be way off on this one. This is also probably going to be advertised rate. The advertised rate that the banks put out or the posted rates are all much higher than what you actually receive. Because in 2016, I had no one getting a 4.6. There was tons of people getting, 3.99 down to, well, a lot less than that. Okay, so let's go. 4.6. I'm going to say interest rates in 2016 were fairly flat. If I remember correctly, they may have gone down a little. In 2018, though, they increased, and that's actually what caused the market to kind of slow down. I'm going to say they went, this is not going to make any sense because this is more of an overnight rate curve. And then obviously 2020, they probably tanked down to, where did I get to? There was some like 2.5% mortgage rates back then, which would probably have translated to 1.5%. They stayed that way all the way until 2022, and then they skyrocketed. I'm going to say I saw some over 6% in 2023, and then they have since come back down. And I'm going to say they're probably similar to where they were. Right about there. Let's see what that looks like. Now, this is going to be way off, for sure, because I have no idea what the actual historical 5-year rates are. Let's take a look. Oh, Yeah, totally way off. Now, this doesn't make any sense to me because the 5-year mortgage rate never stayed above, like, this is like 5% here. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. I would say this may be even bad data. This is terrible. Definitely in 2006, there was no, 2006. What did I pay when I bought my first place? 2005. I probably paid 5.5%. Yeah, these are all really, really high. And during the pandemic in 2022, there was no, what is this number they're even going to show me? This has got to be about 5%. This was not 5% money. This was like 1.4. Let's go on the 1 year and see if we can do this similar to my graph. So 2016 rates were fine. I want to say they even came down a little bit. 2018, they went up. The market got bad. 2020 hit, things tanked. Maybe even lower than that. And then 2022 came and they shot up. And then end of 23, they came down and kind of evened out. Let's see if the 1 year is a little better. The 1 year is a little closer, but I mean, at no point in, like, this doesn't make any sense. The 1 year is actually probably close to 7% in some places right now, but this seems really off to me. Let's go down and talk a little bit about the affordability crisis. This basically points out, in the wake of the pandemic, the federal government dramatically increased the number of new immigrants, which caused a massive surge in housing demand, obviously not building enough homes, and this created the big problem. Now, here's where I want to kind of leave you with this kind of last thought, and I'm going to show you something here. There is a very good argument that it is the liberal policies of pumping money into the system that has caused this whole situation, and pumping people into the system as well. Personally, I don't want to affect your vote in any way, but personally, I think if you have a liberal government, we're probably going to see more of the same. A lot of people would say that Mark Carney, I'm actually reading his book right now, learning a lot about him, because if you're going to like or dislike someone, you better know what it is you're talking about. I think he's going to pump even more money into the system. And I think they're going to pump even more people into the system. And let me show you what I mean by that. Now, Pierre Poilievre has come out with the Conservatives and said, we're going to start capping immigration. We're going to start doing all this stuff where we're going to tie, their housing plan is to basically tie immigration to home starts and home finishes. So we're not bringing in more people than we can sustain. The Liberals, on the other hand, they have kind of embraced something called the Century Initiative. If you're a conspiracy theory guy, apparently this is a big deal out there. I don't know. I don't follow much of this stuff. But there is a push for a group of people politically at the higher levels to push in upwards of 100 million people. Not push in 100 million people. 60 million people from this point forward. By the end of the century, they would like to get Canada up to 100 million people. This founder of this kind of push, or this organization to do so, has strong ties to Mark Carney. And so there is a very good argument here. And again, I don't want to make this any sort of kind of a political thing, but there's a very good argument that if you want house prices to inflate, it's likely going to be through money supply. It's likely also going to be through immigration, both at probably unsustainable levels. And it appears like that is more of the Liberal platform moving forward. So I think if you want house prices to increase, like if you are underwater and you want another inflation kind of boom in housing prices, maybe not in products, but in housing prices, I think the Liberals are going to do just that for you. And I don't think people will be as happy with where home values go if the Conservatives get in. But that may be good for first-time buyers, that sort of thing. I do know one thing, though. One thing for certain is, over time, no matter which government gets in, and these are the two parties that have an option or the possible ability to get in, I do know that house prices are going to go up. That is for sure. The question is, over what period of time? This is why when we're telling people that they should purchase a home, or if they want to purchase a home, or even investment property, never plan to own that home for less than 5 years, because you could buy in 2022, let's call it, at the peak of the market, and right now you're losing 10, 15, 20%, 35% in some areas. If you have to sell now, that's a bad thing, but we're only kind of 2 years, 3 years past that. And I do think in another 3, 4, 5 years, we're going to start to see this take off again. And personally, my thoughts are, if we start to have pandemic level spending to deal with the big angry orange man down in the south as a result of, say, for instance, a liberal government getting in, recovery is probably going to happen a heck of a lot sooner. So just a fun video here today. Let me know in the comments which way you're going to vote. Do you believe the polls? Do you think that the Liberals are pulling it out and Carney's going to go ahead and take this? Or is it all hype from the crazy legacy media? And are the Conservatives going to bring it home, as Polyev says? Let me know down below in the comments. And of course, if you need help in my market of Surrey and the Fraser Valley, you can book a call with me right now using the link in the description below.